kids, where are you? It's time for all the art to tell stories.
In the year 2147, the world was a vastly different place. Technological advancements had reached unimaginable heights, but so had the consequences of centuries of environmental neglect. Rising sea levels, extreme weather events, and the melting of polar ice caps had become the new normal. Cities that once thrived along coastlines were now submerged, and millions of people had been displaced. Amidst this chaos, a brilliant scientist named Dr. Jonathan Hayes had dedicated his life to finding a solution to humanity's most pressing problem: time travel. Jonathan had always been fascinated by the concept of time. As a child, he would spend hours reading about theoretical physics and the mysteries of the universe. His passion led him to become one of the leading physicists of his time, with a reputation for pushing the boundaries of what was possible. His groundbreaking work on temporal mechanics had earned him numerous accolades, but it was his latest project that would define his legacy. Jonathan's goal was to develop a device capable of traveling through time. He believed that by going back to key moments in history, humanity could alter the course of events and prevent the environmental disasters that had plagued the future. After years of tireless research and experimentation, Jonathan finally succeeded. He created the Temporal Displacement Device, or TDD, a machine that could transport a person through time. The first test of the TDD was a success. Jonathan traveled back to the early 21st century, a time when the effects of climate change were just beginning to be felt. He observed the world with a mix of awe and sadness, knowing what lay ahead if nothing was done. But Jonathan's mission was not merely to observe. He was there to make a difference. Jonathan's first major intervention came in the year 2025. He had identified a critical moment in history when a series of poor policy decisions had accelerated the planet's environmental decline. Using his knowledge of the future, Jonathan worked behind the scenes to influence key policymakers, providing them with data and insights that led to the adoption of more sustainable practices. His efforts resulted in a significant reduction in carbon emissions and a renewed focus on renewable energy. But Jonathan knew that his work was far from over. He continued to travel through time, addressing other critical moments in history. He prevented the construction of a massive dam that would have disrupted a vital ecosystem, stopped the illegal logging of a rainforest that was home to countless species, and even convinced a major corporation to abandon a project that would have released harmful chemicals into the ocean. Despite his successes, Jonathan was haunted by the knowledge that the future he came from was still in peril. He knew that he needed to do more, that he needed to address the root causes of the environmental crisis. That opportunity came when he learned of a catastrophic event that would occur in the year 2089, a massive flood that would devastate a coastal city and displace hundreds of thousands of people. Jonathan traveled to the year 2085, 4 years before the flood. He knew that he had to act quickly to prevent the disaster. The city in question was New Brighton, a bustling metropolis that had become a symbol of human resilience in the face of rising sea levels. But the city's defenses were inadequate, and a combination of factors, rising sea levels, a powerful storm, and a failure of the city's flood barriers, would lead to its destruction. Jonathan's first step was to gather information. He posed as a visiting scientist and gained access to the city's infrastructure plans. He quickly identified the weaknesses in the flood barriers and the lack of a comprehensive evacuation plan. Using his knowledge of future events, Jonathan began to work with the local officials to address these issues. He proposed a series of upgrades to the flood barriers, including the installation of advanced sensors and automated systems that could respond to rising water levels in real time. He also advocated for the construction of additional barriers and the reinforcement of existing ones. But Jonathan knew that physical barriers alone would not be enough. He pushed for the development of a robust evacuation plan, complete with early warning systems and designated safe zones. Convincing the city's leaders to take action was no easy task. Many were skeptical of Jonathan's predictions, and some even accused him of fear-mongering. But Jonathan's persistence and the undeniable logic of his arguments eventually won them over. The city began to implement his recommendations, and Jonathan worked tirelessly to ensure that everything was done correctly. As the years passed, Jonathan watched as New Brighton transformed into a model of resilience and preparedness. The flood barriers were upgraded, the evacuation plan was put in place, and the city's residents were educated about the importance of being ready for a disaster. Jonathan knew that the flood was still coming, but he was confident that the city was now ready to face it. In the year 2089, the storm hit. It was even more powerful than Jonathan had anticipated, with torrential rains and hurricane-force winds. The flood waters rose rapidly, threatening to overwhelm the city. But thanks to Jonathan's efforts, the flood barriers held, and the early warning systems allowed for a swift and orderly evacuation. The city suffered some damage, but the loss of life was minimal, and the majority of the population was able to return to their homes once the waters receded. Jonathan watched from a distance as the people of New Brighton began to rebuild. He knew that he had made a difference, that he had saved countless lives and prevented untold suffering. But he also knew that his work was far from over. There were still more disasters to prevent, more lives to save, and more challenges to face. Jonathan returned to his own time, the year 2147, with a renewed sense of purpose. He knew that the future was still uncertain, but he also knew that it was not set in stone. With the TDD, he had the power to change the course of history, to create a better future for all of humanity. As the years passed, Jonathan continued to travel through time, addressing other critical moments in history. He prevented wars, stopped the spread of deadly diseases, and even helped to establish a global framework for environmental protection. His efforts had a profound impact on the world, and the future he returned to was vastly different from the one he had left. But for Jonathan, the greatest reward was knowing that he had made a difference. He had turned a dream into reality, and in doing so, he had helped to create a better world for future generations. His story would be told for generations, a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the unbreakable bond between a man and the time he sought to change. As the sun set over a cleaner, healthier earth, Jonathan stood on a hill, his eyes fixed on the horizon. He knew that his work was never done, that there would always be more challenges to face and more dreams to pursue. If you like our stories, please like, subscribe, and turn on the little bell so you won't miss exciting stories every day. You are also welcome to share it with family and friends to listen to the story together. Love you.